I just want to say to you, and then I'm going to wrap this up quickly. My fear is that you're not addressing the issue. The issue is the reason we love Nelson Mandela is because he made a deal with the white elites, the power structures, the De Beers, the Oppenheimers, to remain in power, and he wouldn't touch their wealth, he wouldn't share their wealth, and that's why we in England love him, because the press tells us to. He betrayed the people of South Africa. And I'm frightened that unless you actually address the fact that the laws of South Africa doesn't make the corporations share the wealth as the Freedom Charter of 56 demands, my fear is nothing will change.
I think you captured it very well. There is no any better explanation than the explanation you have given. The deviation from the Freedom Charter was the beginning of selling out the revolution. But why did Nelson Mandela sell out the Freedom Charter? When Nelson Mandela returned from prison, he got separated with Winnie Mandela and went to stay in a house of the rich white men. He was looked after by the Oppenheimers. Nelson Mandela used to attend the club meetings of those white men who owned the South African economy at the time. He stayed in their complex. He stayed with them. He stayed in one of their houses. They had access to him 24 hours. And they told him that what he represents will not be achieved. And then that's when he turned against himself. Because the Nelson we are celebrating now is not the Nelson we celebrated before prison and during prison. It's a staged, managed Nelson Mandela who compromised the fundamental principles of the revolution, which are well captured in the Freedom Charter. The EFF subscribed to the Freedom Charter. The Freedom Charter has got a detailed explanation of how everything else is going to be achieved. The Freedom Charter is the Bible of the South African Revolution. Any deviation from that is a sellout position. So, unlike Nelson Mandela, we're doing what Nelson Mandela didn't do. We are happy he ushered in. We normally don't use those phrases like Mandela sold out. And we are being too harsh, man. He was too old, he was tired. So he had to give in on some of the things. So he left it to us. We have to take it up where Madiba left it. And that's why Madiba said the struggle is not over. Madiba knew that there is an element of economic freedom that must be ushered in to complete the revolution. Madiba knew that political freedom is incomplete without economic freedom. So I wouldn't sit here and say Nelson sold out. I will say Nelson took us to a particular extent and then left it there for us to take it over. And we are here now. We don't say to Oppenheimer, this will happen, this will not happen. No. We come to Oxford University and Oxford Union and tell you what we tell Africans and what we tell everybody everywhere. The message is the same. We want the total implementation of the Freedom Charter. Those kids who demand free education, they are demanding the implementation of the Freedom Charter. Those who say let's share in the wealth of the country, they are demanding the implementation of the Freedom Charter. I said to you when I started, we are just continuing with the legacy of great African leaders who came before us. We're not going to compromise like Madiba did. We had, perhaps it was necessary to have a cooling off period. We cooled off for far too long, 21 years. Now is the time to stand up and continue with the road towards economic freedom. It is possible. It is going to happen. The most reactionary institutions in South Africa, like universities, are beginning to listen. Well, those are the most arrogant institutions. They will tell you we're independent, we don't listen to those things, academically doesn't make sense, and then they shut down everyone. They are being made to listen. Government in South Africa is listening. We marched to the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. We marched to the Reserve Bank in South Africa. We marched to the Chamber of Mines. I sit with you today. All of them are sending responses to our memorandum. All of them are beginning to say, we agree, we need to talk. But in the past 21 years, those were the most arrogant institutions. You can march to them, you can write to them, they will never say anything. 3 times now, the CEO of the Johannesburg Stock Exchange has been calling me, asking for a meeting. All 400 companies registered with the Johannesburg Stock Exchange have received the memorandum of the EFF and are beginning to call individually to come and explain how they've structured their companies, how people are going to benefit. One of the things we demanded in our memorandum to these strategic sectors of the economy was that we want you to do away with BEE, the so-called Black Economic Empowerment, and empower the workers. We want worker share schemes. They're all jumping. No, it's not possible. What? We saying to them, hey, you are happy to give an individual shares in the name of BEE. We're just changing. We say don't give individual. Give to more people who are called workers. You have been doing it. Instead of giving Ramaphosa 10% shares, 20% shares, don't give it to Cyril. Give it to the workers who are making this company to be what it is. Just redirect the resources. Companies are beginning to say, well, it looks like this can be a best solution. Why are you happy to put money in the pockets of individuals and not communities and workers? Patrice Motsepe, today he's called a multi-billionaire in South Africa he has not invented anything. Unlike that young man who came up with Facebook. He has not invented anything. He just went to sell the color of his skin. I'm black. You have me here, I'll protect your company. I've got political connections. That's what Cyril did. Cyril Ramaphosa goes to London Mine and says, I'm black, I've got political connections, I will protect your company, give me shares. They give him shares on the basis of the color of his skin. The company gets into trouble with workers. The chairman of London Mine calls him from here in London. Cyril, you must now activate your contact. You said you will protect our company. He is now under pressure. Yo, what do I do? Bring the soldiers, bring the soldiers. He must now kill people because he's got no skill to offer to the company except selling his color of the skin and his political connections. The black individuals who benefited from BEE are the politically connected and the most corrupt individuals, who amongst others is Cyril Ramaphosa, who killed 34 mine workers. Now, we say to them, imagine these billions in the pocket of one individual. If those billions were shared amongst workers, you increase the buying power. And once you increase the buying power, then you have increased demand. There must be doubling of production. You can't double production with the same staff complement. You have to hire more. That will lead to job creation will defeat unemployment. We need to put more money in the pockets of the workers. That is the most practical and effective way of redistributing the wealth in South Africa. More money in the pocket of the workers through their salaries, through their shares. That will do away as well with unnecessary industrial actions which lead to serious losses in the companies. Why would workers go on strike if they know that last year each one of us got 60,000 through dividends, and we're told that if we double that, we're going to get 120,000? No one will sleep. They will all work for their money. And when a union leader who's obsessed with stealing workers' money through union subscription comes and mobilizes them for strike, they will tell him, or hey, wait, that strike is going to affect the dividends. Because with those dividends, workers will do a lot of beautiful things. You must just see what they do with their 13th check, bonuses. Imagine they get bonuses and they still get dividends. You tell them to go on strike, you will be speaking a foreign language to them. They won't understand you. They will never agree to go into unnecessary industrial action. You have resolved production, you have resolved unnecessary industrial action, you have increased production. Let workers benefit from this wealth of South Africa. And there's no corruption there. We don't say BEE or individuals. No, we are not going to benefit anything as individuals. The money goes directly into the bank of a worker, not through any politically connected. You pay them dividends the same way you pay them salaries, same account number. You are guaranteed this money will not be reduced by a middleman in between called a trustee or anything of that sort. Workers themselves directly own the shares in the companies. And people are saying, look, this is the best way we can resolve a problem of inequality in South Africa. Richard, I will go to Henry Ford. Richard Branson says, you don't have to worry about customers. Just take care of your workers. They will take care of customers. Once your workers are happy, there is no customer that can come here and say, I'm not receiving a proper service. And once your company provides a proper service, it will always have customers. Henry Ford in Germany, in America, when I was speaking to the Germans in South Africa, I was giving them an example of Henry Ford when he started Ford. I said to them, Henry Ford established Ford and said to its management, we have to pay these workers very well, because these workers must be my first customers. I shouldn't go around saying I'm looking for customers when I've got so many people working for me. These are the immediate customers. Then once these ones buy cars, the rest will follow. You've got people in South Africa who assemble German cars, Benz, BMW, VW. They cannot afford to buy the cheapest. Tata, leave those things they're assembling. Tata, Kia, the smallest and cheapest cars in South Africa. The people who assemble cars can't afford to buy those cars. And then you go around saying there is no market in South Africa, people are not buying it. How will they buy if you don't put money in their pocket? Have the same workers of BMW affording to buy BMW. They will not just afford to buy BMW, they will go and market that BMW themselves. Because workers are the best marketers, eh? They go around speaking good about their company and attract people to come and buy BMW. There's no market because you are not paying them well. Pay your workers. That's what we're saying to the companies. Pay your workers. They will look after you. They will look after your product. And when the revolution comes in South Africa, the workers will be the first ones to protect their own companies they work for, because they will know they are the shareholders. We shouldn't have workers as the first ones to destroy companies because they think these companies are useless, don't even add value in their lives, they are exploiting them. Workers in South Africa, if they are looked after, they will look after many families. In South Africa, you must know that when you work, you don't look after less than 7 people. 7 people you are guaranteed, they are your responsibility. So if you increase a salary of this worker, you are guaranteed 8 people will be looked after very well. And you will deal with all social ills in South Africa, including crime. South Africans don't just love crime. They are not inherently criminals. It's tough, it's difficult. They have to look for other means of survival. That's why they resort to dangerous things like committing crime. Once they are looked after, once their parents are looked after, once we reduce child-headed families, we are guaranteed of a peaceful South Africa. All these things we are asking for will lead to a situation where white people demolishes walls in their houses. All these things will lead to white people enjoying the beauty of their gardens. Because as it were now, they live in high walls, scared that they will be attacked by criminals anytime. Why would you be scared that a white person is going to attack you or a rich person is going to attack you? Therefore you are building a high wall because you are scared of a rich person. No, you can't be scared of a rich person. You are scared of the poor. And you know they will come looking for what you have in the fridge and they don't have at home. That's why you are forever living in fear. You want to enjoy the beauty of your gardens. You want to enjoy the beauty of your house. Let's look after each other. There will not be a need for township people to come and steal in the suburbs of South Africa. That happens because even those who are working can't afford survival. I mean, these people who come and work for you in this house in the suburbs and you pay them peanuts, they are the ones who see all the beautiful things in your house. They are the ones who know the entrances into this house. They are the ones who know that today you are going for a holiday. They are the ones that know that you buy special grocery for your dog, yet you don't give them enough to go and feed their families, not dogs, families. Those are the people who need to be looked after. All of us will live in South Africa as a one big happy family.
I'm afraid that's all we have time for this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please join me in thanking Julius Malema.